Halfway through my job interview, the hiring manager recognized my last name and immediately ended the meeting. I'd been out of work for 4 months, not because I was bad at my job. I was laid off when the company I worked for quietly dissolved overnight. No warning, no severance, just a Monday morning email telling us to return our laptops. 2 months of savings, a lease I couldn't break, and 0 connections in a city I'd moved to for that job. So when I finally landed an interview at Aldrich Group, a mid-sized logistics firm, I treated it like a final exam. Researched them for a week, pressed my best shirt twice, showed up 11 minutes early, and sat in the lobby doing breathing exercises like a man about to defuse something. The hiring manager's name was Paul Eston, late 40s, firm handshake, the kind of guy whose office smelled like ambition and printer toner. For the first 20 minutes, the interview was going well. He laughed at one of my answers. He said the words, "strong fit," twice, and I remember thinking I should text my mom after this. Then he asked me to fill out a preliminary HR form while he pulled up my references. Standard stuff. Name, address, emergency contact. I slid the form back across the desk. He glanced at it, then he looked up at me, then back down at the form. Something shifted in his face that I couldn't quite read. Not anger, not recognition exactly. More like someone who just found something they'd buried and thought was gone. "Whitmore," he said quietly. "Yeah, that's my last name." He set the form down very carefully, the way you'd set down a glass you were afraid of breaking. "Is your father's name Dale Whitmore?" My stomach dropped straight through the floor. He was. He passed away 3 years ago. Paul Eston stared at me for a long moment. Then he straightened up and clicked his pen closed. "I'm going to have to end this interview," he said. "I'm sorry for wasting your time." I didn't move. I couldn't. "Can you tell me why?" "I'd rather not. Sir, I've been unemployed for 4 months. I have no idea what my father did or didn't do to you, but I'm not him. I'm asking you to please tell me what's happening." He looked at me for a long time, long enough that I thought he was going to stand up and open the door. Instead, he exhaled through his nose and sat back. 15 years ago, I had a business partner. We built a freight brokerage together from nothing, worked 7 days a week for 6 years, had a handshake deal that if we ever sold, we'd split it evenly. He paused. "Your father was my attorney on the transaction. I already knew where this was going, and I couldn't stop it. He drafted the final sale agreement. The deal closed. I got a check for my 30%, which was not the 50% we'd agreed to, and not what the contract I'd signed had said. My partner walked with the rest. When I called your father to ask what happened, he told me the earlier contract had a clerical error, and the revised version reflected the accurate terms." He looked at me flat. "That was a lie. I had copies of the original." He knew that. We both knew that. "Did you take legal action?" "I tried. Suing an attorney for malpractice is expensive and slow, and the people who are supposed to help you don't love going against one of their own." He shook his head. "I lost $400,000. Almost lost my house. 2 years in a hole I barely climbed out of. I sat with that. Here's what I haven't told anyone. 3 weeks after my dad died, I found a cardboard box in his home office. Bank statements with transfers I couldn't make sense of. I handed them to a CPA friend to sort through. She called me 2 days later and said they looked like undisclosed commission payments, kickbacks, from multiple transactions over years. She asked if I knew what he'd been doing. I told her I didn't. That was the truth. I thought about that box every single day for 3 years and never told a soul. I convinced myself it was nothing. That my father, who coached my Little League team and called me on my birthday without fail, was not the kind of man who did things like that. I looked at Paul Eston across the desk. "I think I owe you something," I said. I took out my phone. I pulled up the photos I'd taken of those bank statements before the CPA handed them back to me. Photos I'd kept and never looked at and never deleted. I slid the phone across the desk and watched his face as he scrolled. He didn't say anything for a long time. "This is from his accounts?" "Yes." "Why do you have this?" "Because I found it and didn't know what it was, and I've been carrying it around for 3 years, not knowing what to do with it." He set the phone down. He rubbed his face with both hands. "You didn't have to show me that." "I know." Paul Eston picked up my resume from the desk. "Come back Thursday," he said. "We'll finish the interview." I got the job. I've been there 8 months. Paul and I don't talk about my father, but every time I do something right, catch an error in a contract, flag a discrepancy, do the honest thing when the easier thing is right there, I see him notice. That's the only apology I have to give for something I didn't do. He seems to be accepting it.